Welcome back, everyone. Oh, I got a great interview for you. And I'm going to start a little unusually by saying maybe it's time we put the cell phone down. Maybe we're not so concerned about Instagram. Maybe we're not so concerned about TikTok. Suppose instead that we wanted to have a conversation about nutrition, gardening, livestock, maybe even hunting, self-sustainability. How about that one? Well, joining me today is someone from the Cornell Cooperative Extension who knows a lot about what we're about to talk to. This is Nicolina Foti. So welcome, Nicolina.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Oh, great. I think the only way we're going to rely on technology here is that we're doing a Zoom meeting, and we're going to leave it at that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I got it. Hey, what a wonderful concept, self-sustainability. You know, you can trace that back if you think about the area we live in, and actually any number of rural areas, even some urban areas around our country, where people really do understand the concept of self-sustainability. Let's talk about that for a minute. What does it mean?
What does it mean to be self-sufficient? So it depends on what scale you want to look at, right? There's extremists in everything that we do. So there's people that live completely off the grid. They have solar panels and they're completely self-sufficient on power and growing and raising their own food. And then in the same breath, there's the other side of that, where it's someone who lives on an acre of land and wants to have the little garden in their backyard and maybe produce enough tomatoes to make some sauce and can it for, over the winter months. It can be really anything in between, but there's a lot of different aspects to self-sufficiency. It just is really how much you want to jump down that rabbit hole.
I've got it. As you were describing that, I was thinking of myself because we're now starting to look for tomatoes to see which tomatoes we want to can and preserve, make tomato soup and freeze it for the winter and all those assorted things. Hey, one thing I do want, I know the name is not, you understand Cornell Cooperative Extension, you know it's involved with education, but just a quick update to viewers who may have heard the name but are not necessarily understand what the extension does.
So the Cornell Cooperative Extension is part of the land grant system that was started in a history lesson that I don't know all the exact dates on many years ago. So what extension offices do is we take research-based information that we take from Cornell University and other land grant universities all over the country. We take that information and we relay it into our communities. So we do a lot of community programming, adult and youth education. We have 4-H in our office. We have hunter safety, tractor safeties, nutrition, master gardener programs. And the beautiful thing about Extension is each of our offices really reflects our community. The extension programs they have in Schenectady County are going to look a little different than they do here in Saratoga, but it's based off of the needs and wants of our community.
I've got it. Now, I don't know if this is 100% correct or not, but I do think that there are offices in just about every county in the state. I mean, that's how vast the cooperative extension is.
Yep, just about. And if they don't, we share as well.
Yeah, I've got it. Now, your particular expertise, you're an agriculture coordinator. So you're pretty steeped in all things agriculturally based.
Yeah, it seems to be, the jack of all trades. So I work with adult ag education. So it's everything from, I'll do some field crops things and some pasture management. Pasture management is kind of a big passion of mine, and working with livestock and livestock management. I do a little work with our CC Equine program. I can dabble in horticulture enough to be dangerous. I also know when it is a little out of my wheelhouse, and I'll pass it on to somebody else in our office who is a horticulturalist. And then I also look at, farming as a whole, and I work with a lot of other farming organizations without the state and throughout our county. So I'll work with people that buy a farm and want to start farming, and they kind of really don't know where to start, or they want to do agriculture and they have a sector they want to start with, but they don't know what to look for in a farm to be able to accomplish that. So I do whatever needs to be done, and I help out whoever needs it and point them in the right direction.
Boy, what a wonderful career. You also use a phrase that I use all the time, but I've never heard anybody else use it, which is, I know enough to be dangerous. It's really true, by the way, right? I think a lot of people should
Absolutely.
live by that motto, by the way. I wrote down something here that I wanted to pass on to our viewers in talking about the work that the extension does. Pursuit of economic vitality, think about that. Ecological sustainability, think about that. And social well-being, which of course, if the first two, it kind of flows into the third one, if you think about it. So self-sufficiency, self-sustainability is really, can be measured in any number of ways. I'm thinking you mentioned it's that person owns the 1 acre, kind of like myself and my wife, right? We want to grow some of our own things because we want fresh basil and we want those kinds of things. But it actually can become quite a bit more of an undertaking when you start to move into the concepts of homesteader. And explain a little bit about that.
When you look at a homesteader, we start to think a little bit larger scale. So like 5 acres and a little bit bigger. You'll be growing your own produce, fruits, vegetables, what have you. And then you'll also tend to start incorporating livestock. Chickens is a very popular first choice for meat and for eggs. Then you can have sheep and or goats, and that can be for milk, for fiber, also for meat. So that's kind of a pretty good one. Pigs are another popular. When I was younger, we raised pigs. We raised them seasonally. So we would buy them in June and we'd harvest them in November. So that's a pretty quick turnaround. And like, who doesn't love bacon, right? So that's always great. And then you'll get into people who will raise beef cattle for meat. And some people do get into, dairy for milk, but we tend to leave that to the bigger dairy farms. But there are those who dabble.
Wow, I've been a vegetarian for close to 55 years. So when you say harvest meat, I get that. I'm thinking to myself, whoa. Although, I don't know, I've thought about wanting to be a homesteader, and I thought to myself, well, I'm not exactly sure how I'd raise fish. I'm not exactly sure what I would do with that. Does anybody ever approach you with that kind of a situation?
For raising fish?
Yeah. Like say they're pescatarians, say they're vegetarians, or.
Yeah, those questions do come up every once in a while, and that's another really great thing about extension is we're all kind of intertwined with each other. So if that question kind of comes to me, I'll take in their questions and concerns and kind of what direction they're thinking, and then I kind of go and I do the research. And there are some people that I will reach out to that will do that on. They can do that on a commercial scale or a much smaller scale. If you're looking to do it in a pond or have an aquaponics type operation going on and you're incorporating fish into that. And we can get people such as regional staff members that will handle several counties at a rip, or we'll actually go right up to Cornell and we'll have some people right from Cornell University reach out and help answer questions for people.
God, that's wonderful. One question, is this a commercial enterprise for some of the people that want to go into this, or is this really for your own personal sustainability?
So it depends on the person. Well, a lot of times when we look at it, and the scale that we're looking at with this homesteader event is very much on a personal scale. But in the same breath, like last spring, I was doing some very similar homesteader type work classes, and it was looking at people, for example, who are raising beef, and they were now turning it into a business, a farm business. And they started, producing for themselves. It was a family and a lifestyle choice. They wanted to raise their kids on a farm and raise beef. And then they were like, okay, we could actually really sell this. People are interested in our meat. They like the fact that it's homegrown, it's in their backyard, buying from their neighbors. And they started freezer beef right off their front porch, the chest freezer, and a little cash box. And it grew into something where they're actually taking orders and doing advanced stuff. So it can really grow if you want it to.
Yeah, got you. You're referencing an event, which is, I don't want to not mention this event. On the 24th of September, what day of the week is the 24th? Do you know?
It is a Saturday.
Saturday, good, because people remember the days of the week, not the dates. The Saturday on September 24th, a full day, like starting at 8 o'clock in the morning and going to 4 o'clock at the 4-H Training Center. And you'll know that that's Ballston Spa right on Middle Line Road, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Right. And there's all kinds of activities going on that day for anybody who's interested in knowing more about this. Tell me about what's going on that day.
So one of the things that we're starting and we're kind of trying out to see with interest in is butchering of wild game. And it's actually been a pretty popular class. That's going to be going for the whole morning. I grew up a hunter. My dad used to take me out when I was a little kid. So when I became of age, I started hunting, and it's something that has made me really appreciate my food and where it comes from. And also, as a homesteader, you're working on a farm, but your farm's also working with your environment. So that's kind of a nice tie in there. We will also be looking at beekeeping. So we have a gentleman who is through Cornell University who will be here talking about beekeeping and hives. There's 2 different classes to go along with that. That's become a really popular topic for homesteaders, where people want to be self-sufficient, even on a very small scale. Chickens 101. So chickens are great. They're a lot of fun, and they're a great way to kind of slowly step into the livestock side of homesteading. We will also have feeling sheepish. So we're going to have somebody come in and talk about raising sheep, whether it's for wool, fiber, meat, what that looks like, different breeds, what it is to take care of them. And we're going to look at some pasture management. So if you do have livestock, your pasture is a very valuable resource, and how to make it kind of work for you and feed those animals and help you become more self-sufficient.
Wow, what a day. On the bottom of the screen, our viewers will see a web address. Please go to that website. You'll find out more information. There are some fees involved with some of the classes, but when you think about what you take away from these classes, especially if you're driven towards wanting self-sufficiency, or want to be a homesteader, or just want to make great tomato sauce, if your name happens to be Nicolina. For the winter, right? My wife is Antoinetta, so that's what we do.
Absolutely.
We're hunting for the tomatoes now. We're looking for them now. So
and it's a great way to. We'll have a lot of educators from our county there. So one of the I forgot to mention is canning meats. But Diane Witten, who works for our office, does a whole master preserver program. So kind of coming in, you kind of get that connection, and you can really run down some of the rabbit holes with our horticulture programs, master gardeners, and getting into the canning and preserving side of things.
And learning enough to be dangerous.
Yes.
Yes, without a doubt. Thank you, Nicolina, for taking the time to talk to us. And again, this is the Cornell Cooperative Extension is an absolutely amazing organization, program, etc. And this day on the 24th is really something. Put the cell phones down, close the laptop, don't worry about social media, and go out and find out what self-sufficiency is like. All right, Nicolina, thanks so much for taking the time to talk with us.
Yes, thank you. Looking forward to seeing lots of people there on Saturday,
Absolutely.
the 24th.
Take care.
Bye-bye.